shot.
Right.
He's got it. Jeremy Cameron's kicked the first goal of the 2019 Grand Final. Marlon Pickett lines up. Martin able to pick it up and turns around the corner, and Dusty just nails another one home for the Dragons.
Hello, I'm Damien Barrett and welcome to Access All Areas, brought to you by Virgin Australia. Richmond are the premiers in 2019 after drowning out the big sound of the Giants. And as I welcome Jimmy Bartell and Matthew Lloyd, there were some amazing storylines out of this Tigers team.
Yeah, spot on, Damo. A powerful display from the Tigers and led by Mr. September himself, Dustin Martin.
Dustin Martin, and the other end of the spectrum, a debut game for Pickett. He was phenomenal. Halfway through the last quarter, I was considering, as the Norm Smith panellist, to give him the 3 votes. That's how good he was. And Basher Hawley continues to be a big September specialist.
So it's Dusty's 4th goal that got him the points in your...
Yeah, it was
eyes?
for me. I was genuinely torn. So I was shocked when I saw that the 5 voters gave Martin 3 votes, because it wasn't until that point that I said, OK, Dusty's my man, because I thought that Pickett, Prestia, Hawley and also Dustin Martin were all worthy of winning it, as was Revolt late in the game with his 5th.
It was an arm wrestle in the first quarter. The Giants managed to shut it down. Rioli got a late goal in that quarter, and from that moment it was effectively over. But just the way it was set up, guys, the Giants didn't really have a chance to win the way they wanted the game to be played.
No, structurally they got pulled apart and fell into, I guess, the Tigers game. And Lloydie, you can't lose a grand final in... the first quarter. Well, you can't win it, in the first quarter, but you can lose it. And I thought the Giants weathered the storm really well. I think most people at the ground thought, well, OK, it's pretty even. And the Rioli goal in the quarter time started to swing it the Tigers' way. But it was this relentless pressure which allowed them to get that drop back, that number behind the ball, which we saw of Broad, Vlosten, any number of Tigers defenders, and just kept bringing the pressure and the heat around the contest and forcing a lot of errors from the Giants.
Yeah, the basic fundamentals of the Giants just weren't good enough, and they played a possession style game. They actually had the one less disposal than Richmond, yet 18 less inside 50. So they played a possession game, didn't execute well, and got destroyed.
It was an extraordinary journey just to get there. The 3 weeks of finals leading into the grand final was all-time great from the Giants, but they were found wanting on the big day itself. And of the 22 that went around, Lordy, I wouldn't mind getting you just to give us a tick on who you felt was a pass on the game itself.
Yeah, I don't care about the stats. I'm going purely off my eye, and Tim Taranto is the only guy I'm giving a pass mark to. So if I'm Leon Cameron doing the votes, I'm only giving it to one man, because I thought he impacted, he was tough, he had great moments, he seemed clean, but no one else to me. You can have Haynes 30 disposals.
I was going to ask about Haynes, yeah. And Shaw?
No. They were in the back half getting disposals because they chipped the ball around. But I thought, Castanha's had 5 shots. Revolt's kicked 5. Tom Lynch had a good game. I thought Daniel Rioli had a good game. So I thought they were beating all of them.
Is that harsh?
No, it's fair enough. And you look at every statistical area and also the scoreboard, most importantly, 89 points. It says that. I'm with Lloydie. Taranto was probably the one 4 quarters. Each had probably moments within games, especially that first quarter. Sam Taylor started well. A number of players started well or had 10-minute patches. But Taranto, I probably agree with you, is one who, even from the eye and the stats, was by far and away head and shoulders the best Giants player.
I think the Marlon Pickett story is my favourite all-time football story. To stroll into an AFL game on debut in a grand final and to do things like that, Darren Jarman style of 360s, he gave quality time in the midfield. He gave a lot of time in the midfield and looked at home on that venue on that day as any other player out there.
I think Trent Cotchin said it best in a lot of his post-match interviews. How annoying is this bloke? One game, dominates, gets votes on Norm Smith, wins a premiership. Look, hats off to him. He's a credit to him and his family, the way he's been able to fight back from adversity and do what he does. But his football, Lloydie, the thing I love about him is he runs at the opposition. You look into all those sort of edits and footage, he takes the game forward, so he actually forces the opposition either come at him or he sidesteps them, because he's got great feet. I hear the word, he jinks his way through the contest. He just takes the game forward really well.
What's exciting is we've all pretty much seen him for the first time. Not many people watch the VFL or get into the VFL. So I saw him for the first time when he won the Norm Goss medal the week before in the VFL. But to see him for the first time really on grand final day was unbelievable.
And to think he's now going to get a first AFL pre-season, because he didn't get that this year, and then now that he knows his teammates in a meaningful way, it's still sky limit stuff, isn't it? Even though he's 27, he could still be anything.
And he just doesn't seem, he's pretty phased, he's very relaxed, wasn't worried at all by the situation of grand final day.
And it's a credit to Richmond Footy Club, their off-field stuff, not only Marlon but also Sydney Stack. You know, a lot of people said on his draft card there was a few red flags. So they've built a great culture, they talk about it, they throw their arms around players and look at the football that shines on the field because of it.
Sorry,
it took genuine courage in it to just pick him. I mean, it could have gone either way under another scenario, but they had the confidence in him to make the selection, but to know that he was going to stand up in some form.
You wrote an article about the indecision of the GWS Giants yesterday. I thought it was a good article about Phil Davis, and just watching Phil warm up at this point, so late in the game, you see the discussion in the rooms. To me, I'm surprised by this. This should have happened in the hotel at 9 a.m. Take him to a grass area nearby. It should not have made its way to the MCG to still have any doubt.
Yeah,
so close to the game.
I'm with you on this, Lordy. Again, I'm not saying Phil Davis did anything wrong, because he would never put himself ahead of the team. But I felt the way it unfolded in such a public way on this day, Jimmy. As a director of the club, time over again, two things. Should he have played? And secondly, if he was going to play, should it have been handled the way it was, with the public nature of the fitness test and the meetings?
Well, because he's Phil Davis and the captain, and he's been so good all year, he's number one in the comp in intercept marks. I think he had a lot of brownie points or, I guess, credits in the bank. So I think allowing Phil every opportunity to play, I think that's why it did play out that way. You can't help the public nature of it. It's grand final week. We don't ever see cameras in the coach's room unless it's the grand final.
It could have been done at 10:30 in the morning.
Look, hindsight, when you get beaten by 89 points and his man has a great day, you always look for other ways to do it. If the Giants win, the first article was Phil Davis, the hero fighting through an injury. Look, you know, we love to pick sides on hindsight. Rewalt got a hold of him because, you know, the calf injury as well. He couldn't get off the mark, and we saw Rewalt get him on the lead.
The manner in which the ball came forward for the Tigers after they established the dominance in the second quarter was clinical, wasn't it? They were able to get the 2-on-1s in their own back line, which allows them to set up and allow them to win by 89 points.
Yeah, I didn't like the way the Giants played, and even though they were in it at quarter time, I think that Rioli goal was massive. I still didn't think, how are you going to score?
Yep.
I reckon you've got to go at them, and I thought Geelong played it beautifully in the first half. They went at them in that prelim, but they couldn't sustain it for 4 quarters.
So are you throwing the coach in here with your harsh assessment, which is rightful after an 89-point loss?
I believe, obviously the players let him down too. They were fumbly and didn't execute that plan for him well enough, but I thought you've got to score 12, 13, 14, 15 goals to beat Richmond. And I would have hated to have been a forward playing for the Giants with how slow that ball went inside 50.
Legends are being developed on a regular basis at the Tigers, none more so than Basher Hooley's storyline now. It's an amazing one. For the second time in his life, he came second in a Norm Smith medal. He's
played amazing games, and if it wasn't for Dustin Martin, he would be a 2-time Norm Smith medalist. Look, his ball use has been extraordinary across half-back. He marshals, I guess, that back line really well, but he just finds that space and cuts you apart with his ball use. And we spoke about, I guess, throughout the year, the Giants who sit back in defence. Hooley gets right up through the middle of the ground, and that's where he can really hurt you.
And we touched on Pickett. His role allowed Dustin Martin to go forward for considerable time, allowed him to kick the 4 goals. And in the end, I know what you were saying, Lordy, about 10 minutes into the last quarter, that it was a line ball as to who you're going to give the 3 votes to. Jimmy, do you agree that he was the best man on the ground?
Yeah, we get so enamoured with possessions in today's footy, 30 plus, 40 plus, even some players having 50, and we get carried away. This man has 20 touches and completely destroys the game. He's the biggest game wrecker with 20 touches we've seen in quite some time.
Got their first goal against the Flow.
First goal, quality goals, but even setting up Marlon Pickett for his, he could have quite rightly gone back and nailed that one as well. So he would have had 5 on the board. So he was a comfortable 3 voter for me.
And playing forward like that threw Matty De Boer out, in my opinion. Matty De Boer would hardly have noticed. He did a good job on Prestia, I thought, in the second quarter, De Boer, but 12 disposals, become irrelevant in the game with Dusty playing forward.
Respective key forwards had differing days, obviously. Jack Riewoldt kicked 5 goals. You can't say anything more than needs to be said about that. He took only 19 goals from 12 games into the grand final, came out with 5 goals. Comparing it to Finlayson at the other end, a dreadful day amongst a team of dreadful performances, but just the one kick on the game.
Well, Finlayson, as Lloydie said, it would have been a tough day to be a forward, coming slow and high, and he needs space and quick ball movement to get it in. But Jack, look, it's good reward for what has been a selfless role for the last couple of years, with all the small forwards around him, and now Tom Lynch coming in. But he's such a smart player. We saw him do this to Marcus Adams a few weeks ago. He knew he'd get Adams on the lead. Had Phil Davis, who was clearly carrying a calf injury, got him on the lead early, and even in the marking contest, he had that couple of metre space to go launch at the contest.
Yeah, I think it was his best day of the year, and what a day to make it. Jack Revolt on Finlayson. We've seen Jack Darling. I don't think he's as good as Jack Darling, but Darling's been haunted by a grand final before, and Jeremy's got to have that inside him burn over the off-season to come back and be better for the occasion.
Toby Green was best of field in a qualifying final, an elimination final, then a semi-final. Missed the preliminary final with suspension. Again, had a day that he'd rather not have had, Jimmy.
Yeah, well held. Nick Vlosten's a tough man to get away from, especially in one-on-one contests. Again, slow ball use, couldn't get the space that he needed. Tried to push back up in the midfield and get some spark there, but he was just the story of the Giants. He kept cracking away and trying. A free kick off the ball here, which is questionable. There's blocking going on everywhere in contests.
And he should have got at least 2 free kicks in the first quarter, I felt, that weren't paid.
Yeah, he didn't get them, but they might have got him rolling, but... Look, they were just completely outplayed everywhere, the Giants, and he was one.
He seemed to carry it, Jimmy. Like, just watching him in the rooms after the game, hearing him talk, seeing him talk, reading what he actually said, he's taking it to heart, and he's taking it quite personally as to his lack of performance in the game.
Well, if you don't know if Toby Green's not a fierce competitor, you haven't been watching any football, he is going to take it to heart, and he is one, Lloyd, as you said, who'll use the summer and it'll burn inside him. But he's one who will respond. I guarantee you he'll respond. He'll try and become a much better player. And next opportunity he gets on the final stage, he will deliver.
Lloydie, we kicked off the trade radio for 2019 this morning. Lot to play out, and we'll get obviously some answers to a lot of questions. Danaher's going to be a theme throughout it, as will Tim Kelly. But what we do know right now is that Cam Ellis-Yolmen will be going to the Lions for a 3-year deal. 3-year deal there. Sam Jacobs, Jimmy, will be joining your club under a 2-year contract from the Crows to be the ruckman. Yeah,
nice big ruckman. Will hopefully get done pretty soon, but they will add him at the Giants, and you get Cal Ward and Steve Coniglio back in the midfield.
Yep, John Patton will find his way to the Hawks. Bruce and Keith have nominated the Bulldogs. We expect those deals to go down as well. Ryder and Hill to the Saints. Alice, out of the grand final for Richmond, will go to the Gold Coast Suns.
Yeah, I think that's a win-win. I think Richmond need to. You've got other players coming through. They've obviously got Jack Higgins, will play some footy. Pickett to play a full season. Jack Graham, Jack Ross, Alex Rance. So he gets his 2 premierships and he gets long-term security for Brandon Ellis.
And there's lots of watch this spaces. Brad Crouch, Eddie Betts and Jenkins to find a new home as well. Virgin Australia and the AFL, thank you for sharing how your footy family comes together for the love of the game this season. From brothers, sisters, friends, fellow supporters, you've shown us that a footy family comes in many different forms, all united by our shared passion of footy. And here's a quick look at a great example of that passion.
Grand finals, a big day. I obviously get more passionate when I've got family involved.
It's just such a close-knit family club. Yeah, if there wasn't footy, I don't know what we would be doing.
Okay, now it's time for the Access Big Ask, and this first one's to both of you. Which team is best placed to challenge Richmond's reign in 2020?
I'm going to say the Western Bulldogs next year, Damo. I think the way they finished the season and 2 great recruits in Keith and also Bruce, they can challenge.
Yeah, I like that one. I'm going to go the Eagles. They get the home ground advantage, likely to land Tim Kelly, Nick Natanui back, and if they can get Jay Kennedy back up and rolling to his peak, look out.
Yep. Lloydie, to you, what area do the Giants need to improve most to go from grand finalists to premiers?
Well, it's a good question. I suppose you get their injury management right. I think they just seem to have a lot go wrong for them at the wrong times. Obviously, again, it happened this year despite how well they finished in the final series.
Jimmy, will the vacant Freo and Adelaide senior coaching positions affect their ability to attract players in this trade period?
I don't think so, because of the coaches moving on. Whatever sort of negative it had was sort of tied with the coaches. It looks like a fresh start, and you've always got players wanting to go back to their home states anyway. Yep.
We've now had a whole season, inclusive of a grand final, to assess a few rule changes. If you were in charge, would you keep or get rid of the following? Lloydie, to you, the 666.
A keep, but it didn't have the impact we all hoped it would.
Jimmy, the adjusted 50-metre rules.
The way we settled on it towards the end of the year, yes.
Yes. Lloydie, the restrictions on the runners.
Give them at least another 3 to 4 times a quarter.
Yep.
And back to... No?
Nah.
You like it as it is?
Nah, leave. I'm all for it. You've got them all week. You've got team coaches. Coach them.
I like that too.
Damo, what would you say was the biggest story of the season?
To me, it was Marlon Pickett's year, and particularly his week, and then more specifically than that, the game he played on the grand final. I reckon we're going to look back on that story in 50 years' time and still wonder how it happened and how he hadn't been picked up before then. Last one to both of you. What was the best game of the season?
I'm going to go the prelim, Richmond v Geelong. I loved the atmosphere, the roar of the Richmond crowd. Geelong taking it to them, but then Richmond hitting back hard.
The two Giants finals are good, but I'm going way back machine, feels like 2 years ago, but just this year's Anzac Day, Collingwood v Essendon, I thought that was an absolute cracker.
All right, you've had a year of material to work with here, so bring it home. Funny-wise, Jimmy.
It wouldn't be a funny without Razor Ray. So this was my favourite for the year. He got hit where no man wants to be hit, and in Ray style, he just says, yep, plum, LBW out in front, that's out. The crowd loved it. He's an entertainer, Ray, and he's a good umpire too. Got the grand final, so I enjoyed that.
Well, I think our gold medalist funny is up here at the Gold Coast Suns. Michael Riscatelli, veteran. He's done the tough times at Brisbane and Gold Coast. Ben King comes up the Gold Coast and goes, bang! Right in the earlobe. I don't need that. It's too tough up here.
Hey, thanks for the year, boys, Jimmy and Lordo. And thanks for joining us on Access All Areas throughout this season. It's been a pleasure to share the ride with these two guys and all of you out there. Have a great off-season. Congratulations again to the Tigers, and we'll see you next year. Goodbye.